Keepers. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin at the White House tonight, where President Bush has been wrestling with whether all Americans or only some should be vaccinated for smallpox. Only a year ago, the subject of the smallpox virus as a terrorist weapon was hardly ever discussed in America. This Friday, the president is expected to announce a vaccination program. And in an exclusive interview with ABC's Barbara Walters, we learned that Mr. Bush wants to make the vaccine available to all Americans.
The whole subject of smallpox inoculations, which has been recommended for some military personnel or for some health care personnel. Do you think that all Americans should be inoculated?
I will have a detailed plan that the American people will digest. I think it ought to be a voluntary plan. In other words, I don't think people ought to be compelled to make the decision which they think is best for their family. And what's going to be very important is for us to make sure that there's ample information for people to make a wise decision.
How would you feel about your daughters being inoculated?
If the vaccine were available, which I think it will be, I would feel like that was certainly safe for them to do. All of us were. I know there's a slight risk. That's what people will weigh when they make the decision whether or not to have their children vaccinated.
Barbara's interview with the President and the First Lady can be seen for the full hour on 2020 this Friday. Our White House correspondent Terry Moran has covered this long debate in the administration about vaccinations. There's more, I know, Terry. First of all, who would get vaccinated first under the President's plan and when?
Peter, under the President's plan, military personnel would get first access to the vaccine very quickly, since many of them could be at risk of exposure to smallpox in any possible war against Iraq, which is believed to have weaponized the virus. Right behind the military officials tell us would be first responders, about 100 workers at each of the nation's 5,000 hospitals, and then firefighters, paramedics, police officers. And then by 2004, every American would have the choice to be vaccinated.
Terry, briefly, Mrs. Bush mentioned availability. If there were something to happen now, how much vaccine available?
Officials say every American could get the vaccination now. They are prepared to ship 75 million vaccines in one day if there were an outbreak. Some of that is from older stocks, and the President wants to delay vaccinating the entire country or offering the vaccination to everyone until 2004, until newer stocks can come online, and until everybody gets a chance, as he put it, to digest this choice.
Thank you, Terry. As I said a year ago, we weren't talking about this at all. Later in the broadcast, we'll take a closer look at what is still a difficult debate about the vaccination program. And one other item from Washington tonight about terrorism: the Joint Committee of the Congress, which has investigated the 9/11 attacks, recommends that the President have a cabinet-level position in charge of the intelligence services, including the CIA. The committee also concluded that the Intelligence Committee missed opportunities to disrupt the 9/11 attacks by failing to capitalize on information which it had before the attacks. Now we're going to the Pentagon. At this time last night, the U.S. Navy was crawling all over a